These kids today that are misguided and misled and out there participating in protests, that they don't understand the bigger implications. They don't understand all the poisons that are going along with whatever they think they're supporting. I got to grant them the same grace that I was given. Megyn, I think it's her reaction to what we should do with these young people that are out doing these protests, because we know that on the conservative side, that if you take certain positions, the left will cancel you forever. Anyway, she tweeted out, if they are not persuaded that murdering babies is wrong, there is no persuading them. We don't hire those who do the killing, and we don't hire those who applaud the killers while the savagery is underway. If you are open to hiring one of these lunatics, though, good to know. So that's her talking about people that were celebrating what Hamas did. They killed women, they killed babies. 1,300 Israelis died in this sneak attack or attack that whatever in this attack. And so Megyn's arguing pretty passionately like, screw those kids. They got it wrong. They're supporting the wrong thing. That's her argument. Candace Owens jumped in, and her and Candace are friends. Oh, stop it. This is incredibly disingenuous, Megyn. You know that many of those students are not out there because they want babies to be murdered. College kids are stupid. I used to be radically pro-choice. Glad I didn't get put on a conservative blacklist for wanting babies murdered. As it turned out, I was just young and temporarily brainwashed from a public school education coupled with mainstreamed Hollywood lies, and not because I legitimately wanted to see infants torn from their mother's wombs. Dr. Thomas Sowell used to be a radical socialist who ardently supported communism. Thankfully, he wasn't put on a conservative blacklist and accused of being a person who wanted worldwide suffering and starvation as socialism and communism bring. Students are young and experimenting. You're an adult woman who is advocating for their lives to be permanently pigeonholed because they have the wrong ideas, which are likely being spoon-fed to them in their classrooms. Megyn Kelly then responded, okay, I look forward to seeing them intern on your show and your re-education of them. Me, I'll be hiring the ones who saw murdered grandmas and entire families burned to their homes and easily identified this as a terrorist attack they would never in a million years defend. Candace Owens then responded, I will again restate that is unlikely that the majority of the college kids were taking to the streets to explicitly cheer murdered babies. They instead believe they are fighting for some other righteous cause. While misguided, they are in need of education, not blacklist. I would also like to highlight your inherent pettiness and immaturity for tagging the Daily Wire. All right, that's enough. That's two women going back and forth. I jumped in at some point and just, like, because I'm a huge Megyn Kelly fan. I like Candace Owens. I like them both. I like them both. And what I want Megyn to understand is that as conservatives, as believers, we're going to have to wrestle with each other publicly without getting completely upset with each other and writing each other off. And so I want her and Candace to have this debate, have it out respectfully without getting upset and mad at each other and going into corners and accusing each other of different things. We need to have this iron sharpening duel of ideas and debate amongst ourselves so that all of us can learn from it, because I am a tiny bit confused and perplexed on what do we do with this lost generation of young people who have been, as Candace pointed out, brainwashed by an educational system that has been rigged to brainwash them. And this starts long before college. The entire public educational process, government ran educational process that the left has installed. You got to remember, conservative people basically abandon public education. You know, conservative people, generally speaking, are about money. And they graduate from college thinking about what job can I take to make the most money. And so take someone like me. And part of this is because I didn't have a political identity. I did not have a political identity when I was in college. In my view, I still don't have one, but I've been given one. But when I was in college, I wasn't thinking about, hey, what career can I choose that's going to make me the most money? I legitimately thought my career would top out at $70,000 a year. I remember a college professor that we had, Tendai Kumbula. I think he said he worked at the Philadelphia Inquirer and made a salary around $70,000. I can remember him telling me that in 1989 or 90, and I can remember sitting back in my chair going, oh my God, I can make $70,000 a year writing about sports? That's awesome. Those were my thoughts. And so I went into this profession never thinking about attaining any level of wealth. Never crossed my mind. And so that's what leftists do all the time. They will choose careers that like, I'm not going to make a lot of money, but I'm going to enjoy this and I'm going to be giving back to kids. I'm not saying no conservatives do this, but en masse, we don't. That's not what conservatives do. They sit around, well, where can I make the most money? And so when it comes to being teachers, it's overly populated by leftists. When it comes to the media, it's overly populated by leftists. And so when it comes to college professors, overly populated by leftists. That's a choice we made. We handed over many of our critical institutions to the leftists. We didn't make the sacrifice necessary to hold on and to have a voice in these institutions that shape the minds of young people. So, congratulations. You have a summer home in Florida. You have a 4,000 square foot house when you really only need 2,500 square feet. Congratulations. But we have created an educational system and a media system that does not reflect our values, doesn't instill our values, doesn't represent our values. That's a choice we made out of greed, out of the idolatry of money. That's on us. And so, this is where I'm sympathetic or believe in Candace's position. These kids we're looking at out in the streets supporting Hamas, they're victims of the system that we created. And I know I just spent a bunch of time talking about avoiding the victim narrative, but damn it, facts are facts. We put our kids into an educational system that we abandoned. And these campuses have now been overrun with leftists, and now we've printed so much money and so many leftists invest their money in academia and in the brainwashing of the young people. They've run us off of college campuses. Take my good friend John Schneider, who founded Papa John's Pizza. This man loved to spend money on college campuses. He gave money to Louisville. He gave money to the University of Kentucky. He gave money to our shared alma mater, Ball State. Now, none of those schools will accept his money. Under the false pretense that he's some sort of racist, all of the schools gave back his money, and now he's persona non grata at all of those schools. Take Ball State. Other than, and maybe even more than even Dave Letterman. Dave Letterman's given more money than me, obviously. But no one in the public arena has talked more about and shined more of a spotlight on Ball State University than me. Ball State does not like me. Ball State used to like me. Now things have become so politically partisan, Ball State does not like me. We got a new athletic director, and I don't want to air the guy out, but literally, we get a new athletic director every 3 or 4 years. And I would say since maybe 1995, 96, every single athletic director at Ball State, one of the first things they do when they get the job is reach out to me. I haven't heard from our new athletic director. He's been on the job about 6 months. You know, we got a head football coach that's in some trouble. Normally speaking, I would hear from the athletic director. I'll tell you how bad it's gotten, and I want to be careful here. Our last athletic director was a female, and she was alternative lifestyle, married, alternative lifestyle. Me and this woman got along wonderfully. Other than we had an athletic director named Bubba Cunningham, he's now at North Carolina. She's my favorite Ball State athletic director of all time. I didn't care, or it wasn't my job to care about her personal life or even have an opinion on her personal life. All I cared about was she good and effective at her job, and all she seemed to care about was, does Jason love Ball State? Will he give money and support the things that we're into? And on that basis, me and her I don't agree with her lifestyle, but I love her. Love her. Wish she was still our athletic director. We got a new athletic director. Again, things have moved so far politically. Haven't heard from him. Don't expect to hear from him. Ball State has very little interest of me coming on their campus, engaging with their kids. Me and what I believe is persona non grata. That's what's going on these college campuses. Someone with my views. I'm polarizing. And trust, they used to love football coach, everybody, oh, Jason, come to campus, speak to our kids, speak to our kids, speak to our kids. Things have become so, because of social media and the way things have moved, I've become so polarized. I'm persona non grata at Ball State. Now, I still love Ball State. Still love what it meant to me. But the campus has gone so far left that they've probably made a good decision, because I don't know if I want to give money anymore to a university that is brainwashing kids into values that I think are unhealthy for them and are completely secular. But that's where I agree with Candace that we can't write these kids off. We can't put them on a blacklist. We can't act like leftists and eliminate these kids. We got to give them time to grow up and mature and evolve. Hopefully, they'll have kids and start a family, and then they'll start figuring out, like, man, this stuff they taught me in college, this stuff I believe, it doesn't work when you have kids. Hopefully that'll happen, or they'll just evolve. But I just, here's the other reason why, and I shared this over Twitter about myself, and I've shared this on this show many times, that when I was in college, I was, Baby Nation of Islam, subscription to the Final Call, Louis Farrakhan's newspaper, getting those cassette tapes of Louis Farrakhan's speeches delivered to my apartment off campus, traveling to Chicago for Savior's Day to hear Louis Farrakhan speak. That was me. Everybody on campus knew, Oh, if you want to know what Farrakhan thought, ask Whitlock. That was me. That was my reputation. And so who am I now, today? Who have I been for the last 25, 30 years? Who was I even then? Because what I liked about Farrakhan was his call for black men to take responsibility for themselves, their communities, and their families. That's what attracted me to Farrakhan. And I don't care who was singing that message, I'd go listen to him. I don't care who it was. But you look at me now, the racial idolatry at the foundation of the Nation of Islam, my whole life is devoted to uprooting that. Everything that I'm doing, this show today, but all these shows, every time I'm talking about racial idolatry and all of this, it's about uprooting that mindset because there's a poison that goes along with it that people don't seem to recognize. It's poisonous enough, but it's all the complications that come along with it that are keeping black people and America from its blessings. And so if I can have that kind of evolution, if I can be the guy on campus that's ingesting that garbage, that racial idolatry, while trying to pick out the good stuff, these kids today that are misguided and misled and out there participating in protests, that they don't understand the bigger implications, they don't understand all the poisons that are going along with whatever they think they're supporting, I got to grant them the same grace that I was given and hope that they can snap out of it. I agree with Megyn. Now, some kid that's out supporting Hamas and out celebrating what was happening to those Israeli people, am I going to give a job right now? No. No. I'm going to keep a respectful distance and be like, nah, I'm not bringing that into my workplace. But if one of those kids evolves, repents, realizes the mistake of his ways or her ways, would I love to work with him? Absolutely. Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.